Welcome, everyone, to the Nerd Journey Podcast, episode number 33. We're joining you every week to talk IT career, news, and opinions based on our points of view. I'm your host, John White, at VJourneyman on Twitter, joined by my co-host, Nick Cordy, at NetworkNerd_. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Doing well, John. I want to make sure listeners know that we are both VMware solution engineers looking to bring them the career advice we wish we'd been given earlier in our careers. We hope our career discussions will be relevant across disciplines and remain timeless. If you're enjoying our content, please drop us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you subscribe. And if you want to get in touch with us, tweet or DM at Nerd Journey. Ultimately, we're just two nerds on a journey.
A journey to virtual enlightenment.
So let's take a trip.
Great, Nick. It's still springtime in the Bay, and my eyes are itchy as all get out. Major investments to indoor air filters and eye drops on my end. How are you holding up?
I'm doing okay. I feel like the anticipation for part 2 of the Tony Reeves episode has really been keeping me from having any kind of side effects due to pollen. But on a positive note, I will say that my back is better and I got to go work out this week for the first time in a long time. Hopefully my chiropractor does not listen to this podcast and I didn't do a bad thing.
Excellent. Yeah, that's right. It is the second of the two-parter with Tony Reeves of the GigaCast. This week, we're focusing a bit more on his experience with user groups and advocacy groups for career acceleration.
Yeah, man, this was a really good one. I especially like the part where Tony pointed out...
Hold on. Don't give it away.
I'm sorry.
Let's let the episode speak. We don't want to give away everything that we're going to do. Let's get straight back into our interview with Tony Reeves. Maybe we should take the opportunity now to transition to that discussion of community and advocacy programs as well. Mm-hmm. You've mentioned getting involved in the VMware user group locally and speaking at local and regional conferences there. Maybe we could walk through that process of like that very first time that you got involved with a user community and how you heard about it, what that was like, and maybe some direct effects that it had on your career. That's 3 questions, but maybe we can start at the beginning.
Well, when I first got involved in VMUG, I ended up going shortly after my buddy had told me about all the VMware features back in 2008. And I went to the one meeting, and it was interesting, but at the time, it was completely above my head, and I didn't have any capability of going, regularly anyway. So it's one of those things that kind of fell by the wayside for a few years. I ended up getting the new job where I was using VMware on a day-to-day basis, and I was basically talking to my new boss about it and saying, hey, I want to go to these meetings. I started going only to the ones that were close to me. The Wisconsin VMUG that I'm involved in, we rotate between 3 cities in the state. And the more that I went to the ones closer to me, the more I wanted to go to the ones farther away from me and follow the rotation. So they had such good community talks where folks like, you or me would talk on personal things we're doing, if at the customer level, typically. And then there was really good content from VMware and other vendors that would come in. It was always really interesting. And I started just getting so involved in the community by just going to all the meetings. I'd follow the rotation, and I got to be friends with the leadership, all great guys. And the networking aspect came through that. So meeting with all of the leadership team, other vendors, other people that were going through similar deployments or problems. Once I started doing some of the talks, people would come up to me and ask me about vSAN because they were having a particular issue with vSAN, etc. So it was a lot of knowledge sharing as well. And it's just kind of been what I do since then. The community has affected my career because without it, I wouldn't be at VMware. It's been a huge network opportunity and so many mentorship things. Everything has come out of that.
So you joined VMUG, you started attending, getting a lot of value out of it, started doing talks, started giving back. Can you talk about what the transition to VMUG leader was like? What kind of responsibility that is for someone to take on, and why you ended up doing that?
Yeah, so the reason I ended up getting more involved is I had made friends with everybody, been around for years, and I thought I wanted to start giving back. I wanted to start helping. So I would stick around after meetings and ask if the guys needed help, bringing all the equipment back out of their venue, et cetera, to their cars, and just kind of hanging out for V-beers, et cetera. And the thing that changed is we had one of our guys ended up going to VMware, Aaron Bolthouse. I don't know if Nick, you said you know Aaron. And
Yep, former colleague of mine. Cool dude.
yeah. So we became really good friends, and we ended up talking for several months about, hey, I'd like to get more involved. I told all of the guys, but I started to kind of talk a little bit closer with Aaron about some of the things, and he was kind of mentoring me and giving me advice on things. And I ended up joining the steering committee as a first step. So a steering committee is you are a part of the leadership. You're not an actual VMUG leader, but you have a say. You go to the VMUG weekly meetings, and you get to help show that you can do things and prove your worth to the organization, etc. So I ended up being on the steering committee for, 6 months or so, and ended up getting promoted to leader just last October, actually. And
it sounds like it's, sorry to interrupt you, but it sounds like it's an opportunity to prove to the people on the steering committee and the existing leadership and to yourself that you actually have the time to do the job.
Yeah. The time involved, there wasn't a ton of time involved. It was basically showing you that you had the commitment to help. You would make the meetings, as many of the meetings as you could. You weren't required to make all of them, but it was basically the weekly staff call and then planning for the next meeting, trying to line up sponsorships, trying to line up the venue, trying to line up the catering, etc. So I wouldn't say that there's a huge time commitment. It certainly takes a time commitment, but I don't know that it's as much as people think it is. You certainly have some back-end administration and then the actual day of the meeting, but it's not terrible in terms of time commitment. When you step up to leader, there's more responsibility that comes with that. There's some leader training that you go through with VMUG headquarters, etc. And you get your leader shirt, which is pretty cool. But for me, it didn't change a lot because I really wanted to prove myself as a steering committee member, and I wanted to be involved and come up with some ideas to help continue to move the community forward, grow our membership, etc. And I think the only additional step that I took as a leader that I didn't do as a steering committee is I ended up taking over the booking of the venue and the catering for one of our meeting locations. So basically, when Aaron went to VMware, I backfilled his slot.
Got it. That makes sense. And it's interesting because the leadership, even just mentioned leadership training.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you put time and effort into the thing, but then you actually got some official like development out of it as well.
Yeah, and VMUG is trying to do that even more. There's actually some things that they're putting out for leaders now. Developmental, like training courses and some other things they're trying to do for professional development that are actually through a third-party company that they're trying to help grow the skill set of their leaders that way too. So they're investing. There's some cool perks that come with it, like you get licenses, you get a VMUG Advantage license out of it as well for your help in the organization. But it's voluntary. It does take some time, but it's good to be able to give back to the community that helped me grow so much. And that's the way I look at it. Pay it forward, help the people that got you to where you're at and help mentor the next generation and bring the next group of people in.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Now, if memory serves, VMUG is a completely separate organization from VMware, right?
That's correct. The way I understand the history, they originally were a part of VMware, and then they became an independent organization a long time ago in the past.
Okay.
They are independent.
And don't they want people to be leaders who are not VMware employees? Isn't that the way it works? Seems like it is, but
that is correct for most cases. Yeah, they want. There's a certain ratio of customers, vendors, and then VMware employees on the leadership team. And if you are a VMUG leader and you get a job at VMware, you really need to step down to, at the minimum, a steering committee role.
oh, okay. So you can still be involved on the steering committee moving forward.
Correct. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I've told the guys that I still want to be involved. Again, going to be very busy learning the new job, et cetera. Not sure how that's going to all play out, but I have expressed interest in staying on the steering committee if they'll have me. And the other thing is, even on the leaders, there's still that ratio of vendors to customers. So we've got folks that work for various different vendors that you got to have that balance.
Yeah, that's a great point. Appreciate that. I just wanted to mention those things for people listening in case they didn't know what the VMUG organization was like. That's good. Good stuff.
Yep.
Makes sense, especially since it's supposed to be focused on people and users and not, really, it's the difference between a user group and an advocacy group. Right? It's a user group and it's supposed to be focused on the needs of the users, not advocating for vendor positions.
Exactly.
So with that being said, you're actually a member of VMware's advocacy group as well, right? The vExpert program. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement there and maybe a similar arc, the background on getting into it?
Sure. So I had actually applied for it for the first time. I think it was the end of 2016. Yeah, because I got it for the first time in 2017. And I had been encouraged to apply by a mentor of mine. And at that point, I was, already evangelizing VMware products on Twitter, following, certain key individuals on Twitter and resharing their stuff. I was encouraged to start a blog by that mentor as well. I was encouraged to do my first VMUG talk as well by that individual. And a lot of the steps that really got me more prepared for the role that I'm in now at VMware. So there were some real key decisions that I made through that mentor that really helped me in my career. And all of that started with the vExpert application. There's certain requirements and things that they want to document to see what you're doing in the community, to see whether they're going to allow you into the program or not based on those efforts. And I was applied. I think it was a several-month process. The wait seemed like it was forever the first time, waiting to find out if I got in. That happened in February of 2017, was the first vExpert award I got. As I mentioned earlier, there's some neat perks in there with licensing and some specific opportunities. And even beyond the actual vExpert advocacy program as well, being so active in the community in so many different aspects, I was also invited to do other things completely outside of the vExpert program, which were blogger early access programs, getting inside peeks to VMware products that were coming out and being able to, get a blog post all ready to publish when the embargo date was lifted. So a lot of the community advocacy efforts all paid off in many different aspects.
Interesting. I don't think that I was aware of the early access program until I was inside the program. So I think a lot of people don't know about that. But, you start a blog, you start writing about your experiences, and then as a result of the vExpert program, you also get early access to maybe even get more content on that blog. It's a very interesting cycle.
Yeah, it's definitely mutually beneficial because you are getting the benefit of being able to share a lot of the articles that are inside the advocacy portal. So you're helping spread VMware's message through that, but you're also getting more exposure and more publicity for helping build your personal brand, build your blog, podcast, what have you, whatever kind of community advocacy you're doing, it helps both VMware and it helps you.
And what kind of time commitment is required for someone who's part of the program? Do you have to do all these extra things that you mentioned, Tony, or are those just if you want once you get the title?
Well, it takes effort to get in, but it also takes effort to stay in. So there's a yearly application process, and you want to make sure that you're not sitting idle and you're not just, because that's happened. There's been plenty of people that are like, I've been a vExpert for years, I haven't done anything this year, but I'm going to apply again, and then they're expecting to get back in. And that's really not what it's about. You need to make sure you put in that effort. I guess was maybe a little bit more than the average bear. I don't know. I did an awful lot. It was a pretty big effort from my standpoint. You're talking about like a time commitment. Blogs take time. You need to take the screenshots. You need to go through the solution. Technically, you need to go through the blog article from a grammatical standpoint. So that takes time to put that stuff together. Doing the podcast, that takes time. You guys know, you book the guests, you come up with the questions, you schedule time, and you go through it. And then there's publishing, there's back end. So there's a lot involved in it. I mean, to some of the people that may not know, I don't know what other level people take the vExpert program, but I kind of looked at it as an extra full-time job. I was very involved in just about every specific aspect I could, knowing my career goals and building my public brand and getting my name out there. So I don't know that you need to go to that crazy level to get in and stay in, but that's up for Eric Nielsen and his team to decide what level that has to be. But I took it very seriously. It's a privilege. It's something that, just like everything I've been involved in, if you had told me 5-10 years ago I'd be doing this stuff, I wouldn't have believed you. It just takes getting that effort there, putting in the time and see things happen. Like, I don't know if either one of you track Twitter analytics, but, seeing a lot of the hard work that I put in for years, just all of a sudden, just lately, especially with the VMware job announcement, just explode. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I won't say that I am anal about my analytics, but I do look at them and look at how many blog hits I got. Mm-hmm. And yeah, once you get to vExpert level, your blog seems to get a lot more hits. And as you said, once you announce you're going to VMware, that seems to take it to the next level. And being at these user groups, it all helps you. If you don't mind, can you just back up a second and tell us how you got into blogging? Because I know that's another way to create a body of work for a future employer and to help you get into one of these advocacy programs.
Yeah, I touched on it briefly earlier, but a mentor had pushed me to write a blog on some of my experiences and start that. So I kind of approached it as, this is just stuff from my day jobs, as a VMware enthusiast and some of the things that I've come across. And I approached it from kind of a dual point of view. Some of it was work content that I thought could help others, and some of it was just kind of geeky home lab stuff that I enjoy doing, benchmarking and kind of changing my configuration in the home lab and trying to get peak performance basically on a budget. So I really approached it from a couple of different angles, but I really have enjoyed that. And it was one of those things, just like Twitter, when I first started and when I first started public speaking, it's nerve-wracking at first. And you're like, who's going to pay attention to this crap I'm going to do? Who's going to want to listen to this podcast I'm going to do? And you get better at it, and you keep iterating on it and learning more, and people get value out of it. I mean, my blog, I think I'm almost at 40,000 hits. I was ecstatic when I hit 10 hits. I'm like, you mean 10 people read my blog? And that may be small potatoes even at 40,000 compared to, Duncan Epping's Yellow Bricks and William Lamb's Virtually Ghetto. But to me, that's huge. That's an accomplishment because I never thought anybody would read it when I started. And it's just part of building your craft and going forward.
Right. Now, didn't you get recognized in some kind of contest recently for your blogging? You want to share that?
Sure. Yeah. Eric Siebert runs vSphereland.com, and he does a top V blog, he calls it, I think. And I've been watching that for a couple of years, and I ended up submitting myself for top V blog or top new blog. Just off chance, I'm like, well, might not get it, but I won't if I don't apply. So I filled out that nomination form, and I was watching the results. It took them a little bit longer to release the results this year, but I was watching it, and all of a sudden, I heard my name and my blog name. I'm like, what? It was a pretty cool moment, and another accomplishment that I'm proud of and very happy and feel blessed to have happened.
Nice. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, man.
And how often do you release? Do you have a weekly cadence, monthly cadence, or just whenever you have time?
Typically, it's whenever I have time. I tried to, in the beginning, I tried to do one a month. It was about the most I could commit to with the podcast and everything else I'm involved in. But, there's been some dry spells in there. It happens in every season in life, right? But I try to do one a month has been my pace. Some of those folks out there that, like William, that do sometimes multiple ones a week, they're machines, and I applaud their efforts, but I can't keep up that pace.
Yeah, I can't get there either. I think one a month is about all I can do.
Yeah.
Sometimes not even that.
I'm on an annual cadence right now.
Nice.
My last blog post was, here's what you should pack when you go to VMworld. And then I have 3 that have in draft status, but I think my next one might be, and as a follow-up, here's what I really think you should take to VMworld, this year when you come to San Francisco, something like that.
Yeah, that's the question. How many do we have that are in draft status that never make it?
There should be a metric for that.
Yeah. I probably have a good 20 in there right now.
Yeah, I'd be embarrassed to tell you how many I have. It's probably...
Oh, come on, get it out. It'll help you feel better.
It's probably 20 a year.
You just need to publish more, John. Let's just hit that publish button. You'll get your corrections in real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, it cuts off halfway through the sentence, but I publish anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just revise it later.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. So I know that we started talking about GigaCast, and maybe we can talk about that here again as we kind of wrap up the effect that's had. You've made reference to it, but I would imagine that had to kind of magnify your community involvement and your career development as well.
Yeah. The thing, as I mentioned earlier, we started out, it was just Britton and I talking back and forth about various different VMware product lines, and then we kind of went through like a backup solution series, and we were really product focused, but just talking about it from our perspective. And it really helped once we kind of shifted the format of the show a little bit to a guest format and having an expert on there from that specific vendor. So we've had some really cool people on there. We had Ben DeQual on from Microsoft. We've had Jace McCarty on a couple of times. Actually, we've got an upcoming episode we're going to record a week from now with Chris Williams at Mistwire on Twitter. He's going to be talking AWS with us. There's a lot of neat topics and things that I never would have gotten exposed to outside of my VMware sphere. No pun intended there. And it's been really interesting talking to some of the guys, and some of the things that they have to tell us have kind of blown our minds.
Yeah, the opportunities there for getting, when you get started in something like that, you just get plugged into a whole nother network, and I'm sure that you've been able to leverage that VMUG and vExpert network as well to talk to people. Yeah,
and it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, Britton and I get recognized by somebody when we're at VMworld and different events, and they're like, "Hey, I love the show," and it's really cool to hear that feedback. And especially, going back a couple years when we first started, and it's just like, is anybody going to listen to this? Is anybody listening to this? Is anybody going to get any value out of this? So it's pretty cool to hear that feedback from the community that folks like it and they're getting good information out of it.
Now, does that mean if I run into you at VMworld this year, Tony, I'll get a GigaCast sticker if I ask nicely?
Yes, we actually, I'll have to talk to Britton about that to get another order in, but I handed a bunch of them out at our last, our last VMUG? No, it was the Leader Summit in Palo Alto. We had some stickers made up, and I got those out to people when I was out at the Leader Summit in February. So if I have some, I will certainly give them out, yeah.
Maybe we can make a trade, a Nerd Journey sticker for a GigaCast sticker.
Sure.
We just need to make stickers, John. That's an action item.
Okay, I'll find that somebody to delegate that to.
Yeah, sounds good.
No, it's a really good idea. I love the stickers, and I love the sticker culture in the VMware and the kind of like the IT, crowd to like accessorize bags and jackets, with pins or stickers or laptops. There's a lot of laptop accessorization. Very cool aspect. And I think the past few years when I've gone to VMworld, the community area, there's just this like kind of sticker exchange area where there's just piles of stickers on tables, and in every sticker that you're looking for, you can find there.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool ones actually. Buffalo VMUG had some really neat ones. Richard Kenyon sent me some that have their buffalo head logo, and he said they're actually the Pantone colors for Super Nintendo way back in the day. The artist uses the original colors from Nintendo, and they're in 8-bit. The sticker's 8-bit, so it looks really sweet.
Oh wow,
that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Now I want to say one more thing here, Tony, before we get close to closing out. Sure. We always plug the John White School of Mentoring here on Nerd Journey if people are looking to take that next step. And you mentioned a lot about mentoring and how others have mentored you. Can people out there contact you if they want you to be their mentor and want to talk more about how they can learn from what you've accomplished and where you've been?
Yeah, absolutely. At Import Car Guy on Twitter. Yeah, I'm always up for trying to help people, like I said earlier, bring up that next generation of folks and get people more involved in the community, because we need to keep that well growing, right? We don't want that well to run dry, and there's a lot of good content out there that people don't even know because they haven't created it yet. And you just got to pull it out of them and get them to step out of their comfort zones. So that's pretty huge. That's one thing that I struggled with, and I know a lot of people struggle with, is just thinking outside the box of what you're doing day to day and where it can lead you, and getting out of that comfort zone. Because, like I said, several years ago, I never would have imagined I'd be at where I'm at today. So it's been a huge blessing.
Pricing and packaging to come, ladies and gentlemen. Just remember that.
Yeah, there's a Twitter post out there when we were at the Leader Summit. We were in that Discovery Center with Mr. John White in the School of Mentoring. Joe Hughes is in that. Al Rashid's in that picture, and Tony Gonzalez is in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Eventually, somebody's going to pay us for your time, John. Well, they're going to pay me.
Hey, I do have to take a moment and thank you for that conversation we had back at the VMworld 2016 in Vegas. I had just met John through Twitter, and it was when I first came across him starting to do the regular job postings at VMware. I reached out and I'm like, hey, I'm looking to get on at VMware. And we just kind of talked, and we ended up having a brief moment to meet up for lunch, I think, one of the days in the cafeteria area. And we talked careers, and he's like, what do you want to do? What's your skill set? And it was just one of those conversations that I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, where I wanted to end up. I just knew I wanted to work at VMware, and John was really accommodating and took the time to talk to me. So I appreciate that, man.
Hey, I have to say that, like, everywhere that I've gotten, everything that I've done, I've had so many people like give me a hand up, right? Like pulling me up after them, or boosting me up from behind, right? So I think that Nick and I have both said that anything that we can do for the community, and I certainly appreciate, that, if I helped you at all like that, I think that reflects, well on you. I just really love to give back. It is kind of a rush when you can, however briefly, like, steer somebody and give them some advice. It's you I always say, like, I can't really pay back the people that helped me, but hopefully I can pay it forward a little bit by helping other people. So now it's your turn, right? Now you have to turn around and start doing that.
Yep. And I've been doing it even before I got at VMware. It's one of those things that's been really important to me because, like you said, so many other people help you out and are so willing to go way out of their way and make you feel welcome in the community and answer questions, etc. So it's something I've tried to make sure that I live by as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Tony.
Appreciate you guys having me today.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Great conversations.
Thanks, guys.
Take it easy. Oh man, Nick, it was really exciting to chat with Tony Reeves. I'd really encourage our listeners to check out GigaCast. That's the podcast he co-hosts with Britton Johnson. And I think that was everything that we had planned. Anything else pop into your mind while we were listening?
I'd say we definitely want to do a follow-up conversation just on the idea of advocacy programs. That played a really big role in Tony's career, and I think digging into that a bit more in a future podcast might help some other folks, because there are a lot of them out there, and I think that'd be good. Put that on the future topic list.
Definitely makes it onto the future topic list.
And of course, if you're out there and you need an advocate or a mentor, there's no better place to get one than the John White School of Mentoring. So send that tweet and DM out to @NerdJourney for pricing and packaging today. And I'm sure that if you wanted some of Tony Reeves' time, he would gladly give you some at Import Car Guy. But a reminder, we want people to subscribe and give us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. We want to know if we're being helpful and are always looking for interesting questions to ponder. We're collectively on Twitter @NerdJourney.
That's right. Hey, don't give Nick any money. He's I haven't seen a single dime. So if he sends you an invoice, just don't pay it. All right.
Oh, anyway. That hurts.
Anyway, farewell, listeners. Tune in next time as the journey continues. I'm John White @VJourneyman, for Nick Cordy @NetworkNerd_, and again, our guest, Tony Reeves @ImportCarGuy. Signing off.
Adios.